All caution to the real reflection. So, I just got back from a little client meeting, and I'll tell you the story, and then I'll tell you the realizations of the experience. I reserved a little room for us to work on the project that we were working on. And when I went to you pay there, right? So I paid at the little co-working space, the little venue. And when I went there, they were asking for they just had extra fees, right? So it said one thing up front, and then it was it was a higher price when I got there. Now, when I arrived there, I had my client with me, and my client was just standing right next to me while we were at the check-in area. So as I get the bill, which again was higher than what I expected, I'm like, wait a second, I don't know if I actually have this much to be able to spend. So I check my bank account. What do you know? I don't have the amount to be able to spend. So here I am at the check-in desk with my client right next to me there at the check-in desk, and the vendor for the co-working space. And talk about embarrassed, right? I just felt a little embarrassed of oh, I cannot afford this right now. So I tell the vendor, I'm like, hey, look, I wasn't expecting these extra fees. And they're like, sorry, that's just that's what it is. So you want me to cancel? I'm like, all right, I guess we're gonna cancel, So I say it with this smile though, well, that's it, thank you, But on the inside, feeling wow, almost a little bit of shame, a little bit of disbelief, and a little bit of I wonder what my client's thinking, So I go back to the car, and I don't even talk about it with the client. I'm just all right, I don't even say anything. I just move on, I find a little spot for us to work, and we get to work, and that was that. Now, so that's a little story about what happened. Now, the reflections on the story. A couple things come up to me in this little story and experience. One is how cool my client was. They didn't make me feel bad. They didn't do anything. They just staying quiet, staying silent, not being oh, what are we gonna do now, or what? Just making it simple, and realizing I'm gonna handle that. There's no need to add anything extra. Oh, what are we gonna do? No extra, nothing. Just I'll figure it out. And trusting that I'll figure it out. So I appreciate that. And it's one thing I think is just really cool. The second thing is within myself, talk about that feeling of embarrassed, being ashamed. I don't even know if ashamed is really the thing. But I noticed that I was even getting the co-working space, there was a little bit of wanting to impress the client, of I'm gonna get a nice space for us. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that don't impress your clients, but what I'm saying is I think it's important to really recognize is it always necessary? Was it really necessary to do that? Now, I had a preconceived notion that I need to whatever, but was it really necessary? My client didn't seem to really be bothered. They were just yeah, that's cool, Again, it wasn't even spoken about, So just a rethinking that. And then lastly, on the vendor side of how cool the vendor was as well. In the sense of, all right, well, here's the situation, let's just cancel it. There wasn't any extra fee to cancel. Vendor didn't make me feel bad or anything like this. It was just, this is the way it is. And that's it, you know? Nothing else needs to be added, like, at all. So why do I tell this story? And maybe I should have started with that. I'm telling this story because it's an important moment for me to remember that my work speaks for itself. That clients will want to work with me regardless of, and vendors, right? Regardless of anything, just because of who I am, because of what I bring to the table, because of that calmness, you know? I think that's the real value in the whole story. I think that's the real value in my beingness, is that I'm not gonna get thrown, I'm not gonna get swayed, I'm not gonna flip out or anything like that. I'm gonna accept life as it comes to me and know that I will handle whatever it is that life puts in front of me. Keep up, thrive, stay sexy.